Backers, we know how incredible you are. With your support, the world's most groundbreaking, innovative, and creative ideas are given a chance to thrive.
Welcome in, everybody. Are we live? People starting to flow in yet?
Thank you on behalf of here. I want to thank you. Thank you so much, Indiegogo backers. Thank you for 2021.
Welcome, everybody. Ooh, looks like we have some participants in here.
We're so grateful. Thank you so much. So grateful. Thank you for helping inventors, creators, and entrepreneurs from every walk of life make the world a better place for all of us.
This is Indiegogo educational series today. Welcome, everybody. Get some people in the chat. If you're in the chat and you'd like to participate, feel free to drop in where you're chiming in from today. I myself am in the Bay Area. So good morning to everybody.
Just want to say a big thank you to all campaign.
That is all right as well.
Thank you for me.
We'll give another minute or so to let anyone else who's falling a little bit behind come in. But I'll say we give us another minute and then we can start beginning the series.
Thank you for the living us. Here in New York City on a beautiful day, saying hello. The bottom of our hearts, we're almost done.
What we have playing is some videos of some campaigners who ran some campaigns, and thanking all the lovely backers because you guys helped make each and every campaign come to life.
Okay, guys, we're live.
This safe, sober, accessible.
Awesome. Welcome in, everybody. I guess we can go ahead and get started today. So, hello, everybody. Here's a formal welcome. I know we've been in the chat for a little bit, but welcome to our entrepreneur educational webinar. This one's going to be about how to rethink the pre-launch community building. And we're happy to have you join us today for this series. This is the third one. We ran 2 already, and we're happy to have you here today for the third. Next slide, please. So hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm Hugh today, and today I'm joined with Amy and Ying. I myself am the hardware manager at Indiegogo, and Amy and Ying are on the campaign strategy team. They bring in a lot of experience, and Amy has helped provide a ton of consultation to our backers, or not backers, our campaigners, and she's helped consult over $35 million of funds raised to our campaigners, and she's looking forward to share her knowledge with you guys today. What you guys can expect today during this session is to go over how to grow your community and influencer relationships. During today's session, feel free to leave a comment via our Zoom's Q&A, or if you're tuning in via our LinkedIn Live, feel free to leave a comment in our LinkedIn comment section, and we'll be happy to go through the comments and questions and do our best to try to answer them for you guys at the end of the session. You're welcome to drop a comment on LinkedIn and Zoom here, and we'll do our best to answer them. And without any more further ado, I'm going to hand the floor over to Amy. Oh, sorry, a little bit premature. So why launch on Indiegogo? So Indiegogo is where you'll find groundbreaking technology, and not only groundbreaking technology, but technology that will help launch your campaigns. On Indiegogo, we have over 20 million active visitors on a monthly basis, with backers coming from over 237 countries worldwide. So it's a great way to get a global market entry, since once you launch your campaign, people from all over the world will be able to back your campaign as well. And for the unique tools on Indiegogo, from marketing, we have Facebook Pixels, Google Ads, and Google Analytics tracking. For community, we're able to help you guys with pre-launch page and open comments. These are great ways to get interaction with your community and kind of be involved with them. And also for sales strategies, we have things and tools such as add-on perks, secret perks, campaign page extensions in our in-demand program to help you upsell your backers and get the most out of your campaign.
Yeah, so
Where Amy can come in, I'll hand the reins over to you. Sorry for
yeah.
interrupting.
No worries. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining this morning. I'm Amy from the campaign strategy team here at Indiegogo. So I've been working with startup level and enterprise level campaigners for the past few years. I'm very excited to share some of the key learnings with you all today. Before we start, I want to especially thank you for calling in from all over the world before the holidays. So no matter you are just trying to wrap up your work or travel soon to meet your family or friends, thank you for joining. This is the last session of our Rethink Pre-Launch Community Building series. And so I cannot emphasize enough the importance of pre-launch, especially this is the time that you build your community around your product. In addition to advertising, which is the effective and widely adopted approach by many of our campaigners, recent years, we've also seen a growing numbers of campaigners in crowdfunding developing strategic partnership with influencer as an additional marketing avenue. So why influencer partnership can be an effective paid media avenue for you? Here, I want to use this short sentence to answer this question. Influencers are actually your brand ambassador. They are more than just content creators. And when you build a working and trustworthy relationship with them, they can be the advocate of your brand. So let's start with the definition of this marketing jargon. With a simple search online, we see Wikipedia defines influencer marketing as a form of social media marketing that involves influencer endorsement and product placement. So what makes them influential is because these influencers have the power to affect their audience's purchasing decision through content posted on social media platforms. And these could be, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, or other online channels, or something else that are still evolving. Here, let's look at another definition from Association of National Advertisers. I want to particularly highlight the interaction between the brands and the consumers. And it has evolved from the traditional one-way dialogue to a two-way dialogue. Consumers today are able to be more vocal about their experience with the brand through all types of content, from a blog post to a viral video. So you might wonder, okay, so who can say they are influencer? And here I want to borrow the definition of influencermarketinghub.com for a quick explanation. Influencers are someone who have the power to affect the purchasing decision. And by power, I meant they have the authority, the knowledge, the position, or relationship with their followers in a distinct niche through their constant engagement and interaction with their followings. So now let's talk about the effectiveness of influencer marketing campaigns. Let me show you some of the stats from the industry research. According to Global Web Index flagship report published last year, during the pandemic, 96% of consumers who follow influencers have been more actively engaged with creators, or to the same extent before the outbreak of COVID-19. And this is likely due to the fact that they stayed at home longer, or just basically have less social interaction. So people spend more time online interacting with these influencer content. Another report published by Sleek Tax research on how consumers trust the social media influencer. It identified that 40% of the respondents make a purchase decision because they are convinced by the product value promoted by the influencer they follow. This again reinforces that influencers play a role of inspiring others through articulating and promoting the product values. Most importantly, I would say influencer can also bridge the trust gap between brands and consumers. As found in the same research, 52% of online shoppers conducting research before making a purchase, and they start by reading reviews online.
Influencer giving unbiased reviews are most likely earn consumers' trust. And this is how you want your influencer strategy play into the whole plan. So now you might be thinking, okay, influencers sound amazing and I should just get started. I would actually encourage you to take a step back and think about what you want to achieve with influencer partnerships. There are multiple goals that you can work towards by working together with influencer. Thinking from the top to bottom of a marketing funnel, we could define the goals as follows: brand awareness, social media followers and engagement, traffic, reputation, trust building, sales and lead generation. If you were a new brand awareness may be important to you during pre-launch rather than driving traffic immediately. In the crowdfunding stage, you will also want to build up your reputation and trust through working with influencers who are able to provide an objective opinion to their followers so that you can position your product as a trustworthy option. So these are some of the goals that you can consider when you start planning out your influencer partnerships. And when thinking about working with influencer, you would also want to consider the types of influencer that would be a good fit for your brand and product. It's not just only about the number of people they can reach, but what sort of engagement these influencers have with their audiences. Here are a few type of influencers for you to consider. The first one, by vertical. The second, by niche. And these are to ensure that you're reaching the right audience who are interested in what you are offering and your product is relevant to their day-to-day life. And ultimately, you want these people potentially become a supporter or a customer of your product. By the type of content the influencer are specialized in is another type that you can think about your influencer outreach strategy. Some of these influencers are strong in product reviews as they can articulate the product features and benefit well, and some may be more proficient in writing rather than filming a video. So these should also be factored in when you are reaching out for a partnership negotiation. Lastly, the size of the following. Keep in mind that the size of the following isn't, just the larger, the better. Oftentimes, based on the stats, you will see mega and celebrity level influencers have followings of more than 1 million people, but they also tend to have lower engagement rates with their posts. Although they could, have higher visibility for you to help your brand reach a wider audience, they can also be very expensive for you to invest your marketing budget, and the return on investment may be low. So something for you to consider when you are choosing, the size of the followers that the influencer have. So to make the influencer campaign be more effective for a crowdfunding campaign, I would recommend finding the right type of influencer and starting from the micro influencer who tend to have a stickier following and stronger influence over certain areas rather than pursuing, a large quantity of influencer so that your product can really reach the right audience. And everything, as we said, it will start from research and audience analysis. As a rule of thumb, you should keep reach, resonance, and relevance in mind when you're analyzing who is a good fit for your product and brand. You want to find those influencers that are really relevant to you. For reach, you could think about how many audiences that this influencer has. For resonance, how much engagement the influencer could receive through the post. And then as for relevance, does the audience actually match with your user persona based on all the research that you have done? So keep these 3 R's in mind, and you can try to find the influencer that are most relevant to you and your product. And here, don't forget that before you want people to make a monetary donation, you would also want to start from building a relationship with your target audience. So in crowdfunding, it's all about the trust. People back campaigns that they trust. And because of this, with the trusted building principle in mind, I would encourage you to think about how you can personify your brand before you start to, reach out to the influencer. Think about what your brand represents. And if it's a person, what type of person it would be. This would be very beneficial to help you fine-tune the type of influencer that you want to work with and what type of content that they publish would actually best represent your brand and product. And here are some content that for you to consider. As I mentioned earlier, you could, work on unboxing or reviews with an influencer. There are also influencers specializing in posts to do product placement. And there are also guest blogging that people can give a more in-depth analysis of the product. Or you could also provide exclusive discounts through Indiegogo's proprietary secret perk features so that these special offer is only offered to the influencers' audiences. And then an important thing to keep in mind is there are a lot of people out there claiming that they are influencers who have the impact over their audience, but you should also try your best to identify those fake ones and steer clear of them. An important way to evaluate these influencers, actual authenticity is through the engagement rate. You should also look at the comments to see if there are actual comments, quality discussions around, the content between the influencer and the audience. And third, you should also find out, how these people are actually react to the comments and who are the audiences following them and who are the influencers actually following to make sure that these are influencers who are actually creating quality content for their audience. So you might wondering, wow, there's a lot of analysis that plays into this. That is true. And if you are looking for tools that can make the whole discovery and research process easier for you, there are a lot of options out there. But just to start from like the free and open sources, with the simple Google search, you could find out what are some of these hashtags or just news articles or outlets that are talking around, similar ideas or products like yours. This will be a good starting point for you. If you're looking for paid like software, there are a lot of tools out there as well. A few common ones that we have heard people using on our platform are as follows. So these are some of the options that you could consider if you want to take the analysis to a deeper level. And it's also important that, keep in mind when you are reaching out to all these influencers, these people are also human beings. And when you pitch your product to them, remember that it's all about relationship building. And to form a long-term working relationship with them, make sure you have the right knowledge about what is their niche, what is the content that they are specialized in, and what are the audiences of theirs. And don't blast just the same message with a static template to everyone, because these influencers can also tell whether you are actually having a good understanding of their content and their specialty. And be clear in your pitch about what you can offer. These are some of the ways that you can offer in return of the partnership. You can offer free products or cash. These are most helpful when you are pitching like a paid publication or a gas block. You could also do commission, which is more low risk because it would only be paid when the contributions are actually brought in by the influencer. So some of these ways could be considered when you are considering how to form that strategic partnership with the influencers. In terms of campaign measurement, some of the ways that you can easily do on Indiegogo is through our referral links. We have a few articles in our help center help you understand how you can create tracking URLs for the influencer campaigns so you can better measure these effectiveness. You could also simply use Google UTM tags to create all these tracking URLs. But keep in mind, this would also depend on whether the influencers that you work with is comfortable with using these tracking URLs or not. And if not, it might be easier if you just offer a standard the campaign URL for them to include in all the posts. So these are some of the realistic aspect of the measurement that you should keep in mind. And then lastly, I want to go back to the campaign planning after you think through all the question that we mentioned above. Be very realistic when you are planning out your influencer campaigns. It's better that you work with a selective of influencer when you don't have a huge budget. And if you don't have any budget limit, the all over the place type of strategy could be for you to be able to have a wide reach and a very high visibility by working with multiple influencers. And you should also consider your goals. Are you looking to have influencer to drive conversions immediately, or more just to use their network to increase the overall awareness of your product and Indiegogo campaign? Next, you should also think about how many prototypes that you actually have to be able to create all these influencer partnership and content. Keep in mind that the influencers, oftentimes they will want to see and have the product in hand to be able to promote the product or provide their unbiased opinion through their content. And so being realistic about what are the exact numbers of prototypes that you can do or work around by shipping, internationally with different influencers would be important. And this is all very time consuming. So make sure you start planning this ahead of time during pre-launch. And also think about the release timeframe. What would be the content that released during pre-launch or ahead of the launch day or during the live campaign? All of these could be better planned out ahead of time. And so you could have different milestones to publish the content to boost the campaign momentum. So that is all about the framework of planning out your influencer partnership. And we've also prepared a few case studies for you to better understand what other campaigners are doing on our platform. So now I will hand it over to Ying.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ying, and here I'm going to present a few examples for you so you can get a deeper understanding how influencer marketing works. Let's check out the first one. So the first one is Utopia e-bike, which is a very premium e-bike that targeting at more like sportness look. And so when they are working with influencers, they were not considering people not fitting with their product characteristics. So what they were looking for was actually sports influencers. So if you look at the screenshot on the right, it's like you will see there's NBA players, there are triathletes, and then there are Olympic champions. And all of this, they are considered to be mega influencers. They have a very strong following in the sports world. And one of the reasons why they chose those people is because the goal of their campaign is they want to build awareness as a new brand. So they want to use these mega influencers to increase impact. And that actually worked. And they received a lot of celebrity endorsement that way to kind of help to build a stronger social proof. And then at the same time, they also collaborated with some lower level, which we call them macro influencers. And they were targeting at particular influencers have a strong following in either the tech or the e-bike category. So for example, Tommy's Tech Review, he's like a German YouTuber that dedicate reviewing all kinds of e-bikes. So he really knows what he's talking about. He knows his stuff. So when his followers like watch him on YouTube, listen to his product review, you actually trust him, you understand how this product really performs. And so I would say both of those types, they worked equally well for this campaign because one of the goal is to increase the impact, like build a web brand awareness. But then the other goal, they also hit because those trustworthy macro influencers who have a lot of experience reviewing e-bikes has brought in a lot of conversion, also trackable for them too. Yeah, so one thing we learned here is a partnership is kind of almost like a numbers game. You work with more, of course, the chances for your campaign to get more hype is more. But also bear in mind, it requires a big budget if you're working, let's say 20 influencers versus like 5. And let's check out the second example here. So second example is also e-bike campaign, but this one is a mid-tier e-bike campaign that sells most urban lifestyle. If you go to the campaign, you will see like people riding on bikes around the cities. So it's mostly a commuter bike. And in this campaign, they actually use a mix of mega, micro, mid-tier, and macro influencers. And so if you look at the image on the left, those are professional cyclists. And they have a pretty strong following. But meanwhile, they don't have as strong engagement compared to the one on the right, who is Naomi Wu. And in their case, actually their mega influencer has worked a lot better because Naomi Wu is a pretty popular figure in not just the 3D printing world and also in the tech innovation category. And also she reviews all kinds of e-bikes as well. And for Tenway, she did a review and also she did a test drive on the e-bike to showcase a product. And so for this campaign, the campaigners' goal is mostly conversion. They want to bring in like as much as traffic as possible. So that's why they selected different kind of KOLs, different kind of influencers to targeting at different market, different audience. Because bear in mind, your influencer can do a lot of things for you, but at the same time, they are, like they have different audience, the message you're using is going to be different, and we can, talk more about on that later. And also the rule of thumb, like Amy was talking about, is the return on the investment on using the KOLs. So that's also based on your goal. Is your goal about the engagement? Is your goal about conversion, right? So you set up different metrics to measure them. And now let's take a look at the third example. So the third example is 70 Mai Terra. It is a mid-range portable power station, but it's also a new product category this campaigner is expanding into because they used to only do dash cameras. And so what they ended up working with was mid-tier influencers with a very niche audience. So here, the screenshot is from Hobo Text Review on YouTube. It actually worked really well because over 40% of the conversions were actually brought in by him. Hobotech has a very small following compared to Naomi, who's like 1.5 million. Hobotech, I believe, only has like 130K followers. But all his followers, they are very invested with him. He only reviews power stations, so you can trust what his review is about. And when the followers, like watch a review, you know what you are looking for and you know how this perk is going to perform. So it's going to be like no surprise. And that's why this one, even just working with very few influencers and with very small like followers group, worked so much better than just working with mega group. And so let's move on to the main takeaways. So for the main takeaway, first, of course, is you have to research, and research. Because a lot of times you set your budget, you determine your goals, you do your research, you find your influencers, and then hoping that they will give you a glowing review. But at the same time, you have to really identify how you're gonna make this work. Is this gonna be a paid or unpaid? Like for example, how many samples you have? Let's say if you have like only 2 samples, then you probably have to work out the logistics if you have like 10 influencers you want to work with. And then who are the influencers you should work? You should look into their audience group. You should look into what kind of engagement they have with their followers and to decide whether you want to work with them or not. Also, you have to consider, is it going to be a one-off or maybe a repeated collaboration? And then when this review is going to be posted, like how long this collab is going to be, how many reviews they're going to give you, and where they're going to be posting them. Is it going to be YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or on their own blog or Twitter? There are different channels, right? So you have to kind of identify where your backers hang out, where they're most active, and where the influencers are, and how you bridge them together. And then at the same time, bear in mind, what are your goals? Is it conversion? Is it engagement? Is it just you want to have a bigger reach? And what kind of message you're going to send? Because different influencers, they have different followers, and different followers resonate with different messages. So you have to customize those messages so you can, make yourself heard among them. And then the second one is about tracking. Tracking is challenging because most of our tracking are last touch based. We either can use Indiegogo's referral tools, or you can also use third party. But bear in mind, it's like how you set it up. Like if you're working with, let's say, 20 influencers and somebody watched 3 of their videos, and when they click onto the campaign and make each contribution, it's last touch based. So the last one that they click through, that's a link that counts. And then in terms of the measurements, is you have to kind of figure out what your ROI is, because that's how you measure whether your campaign is successful or not using influencers. And so sometimes you measure it by the ads, sometimes you measure it by the page visits and conversion. And so again, we have to bear in mind, what's your goal? Like what you're trying to achieve, and use that so you can decide how you measure your ROI and whether this influencer campaign is successful or not. And one last advice is there's no guaranteed outcome, because it's just every campaign is so different. There are certain benchmarks you can look up like on Google to see what the conversion rate is like for influencer marketing, but you don't really know until you've done the influencer campaign, because it really depends on the vendor, depends on the influencer, depends on the product category, and also the product themselves, because you don't know how the review is going to pan out. So there are just a lot of risk in doing influencer marketing, but also comes with a great reward. So yeah, I believe this is the end of our webinar. And for the next section, we want to move on and address your questions regarding influencer marketing.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy and Ying. That was really insightful. And I feel like even I myself learned a couple things today. It's really interesting to learn the different levels of influencers and how they can each affect our campaigners' campaigns, and just the level of impact, reach, and the 3 R's that we got to take forward when thinking about the influencers. So now what we'd like to do is open up the stage for you guys, the attendees, to ask any questions that you guys might have during the presentation. We open up the floor for you guys. So far, we have not gotten any questions in the Q&A section yet. So we do have a couple of FAQs, frequently asked questions, that we'd be happy to go over while you guys kind of think about any question you guys may have during the presentation. Feel free to drop in any more questions, but I guess we'll start with the FAQs here. So Amy and Ying, I'll leave this to you guys. I can go with the first question that we have in the FAQs is influencer marketing effective from a conversions perspective?
Yeah, I will take this first. So as Ian briefly mentioned, this depends on the campaigns and product categories, also the influencers that you work with. We have seen campaigners who work with very effective YouTubers that got over 20% of their contributions and total funds raised from the YouTube channel. So this is an example of the effective influencer campaign. But of course, we've also seen smaller campaigners who work with a selective campaigners, but do not got significant contributions from these YouTubers or influencers. To briefly answer this, this is depending on the campaigns and the influencers that you work with. But Ian, do you want to provide your aspects as well?
Sure. So according to a 2021 influencer marketing bench report done by Influencer Marketing Hubs, 90% of their survey respondents actually found influencer marketing to be very effective for their marketing. But we have to kind of go back to the questions like the conversion. If conversion is your goal, and also, by the way, conversion is actually also the most commonly used metrics in 2021, because in the past was like engagement, for example. And so you have to kind of run your math to determine whether it's worth it or not, because there's cost comes with working with influencers. And when the return is actually smaller, then probably have to think about there's something I can do to improve, optimize my influencer marketing strategy. Maybe working with different tiers of influencer, maybe like arrange the review to be launched on a particular date. You're also running an ads campaign. And for example, maybe in the past, you got permission, be like, okay, like I can post the influencer's review, right? Maybe you can use the review also to run ads. It's just like, it all kind of depends on what is going on with your campaign, what's your goal, and how you can diverse, like how you work with influencers and try different ways to make it work.
Awesome. Thanks for that input, Ying and Amy. Also, I think in terms of how effective it is, it just depends on your mindset, on how you're coming in. In terms of conversions, each and every campaign and kind of influencer marketing campaign will have a different type of conversions. So going into it, I think it's great to have a goal to have. And from there, you can really kind of judge your own campaign versus comparing yourself just to the industry average. And the next question we have, I think similar to what Ramona is asking right now, but she's asking is how do we find and reach out to influencers, which kind of goes into how to approach influencer outreach.
Yeah, so for reaching out to influencer, there are multiple ways that you can do this. And as briefly mentioned earlier in the presentation, a free, way to do this that you can start with looking at the hashtags that some of other similar campaigns have used. What are some of the other campaigns that have been talked about by these influencers? From there, you can either send a message to them to introduce yourself and your product, or there are contact information that these influencers usually would publish online for potential advertisers or brands to contact them. So these are more manual ways that you can manage the outreach yourself. There are also agencies in the industry that is specialized in public relations or influencer partnerships that could help you with this. If you prefer to manage this at a larger scale by yourself, as we mentioned, that there are also paid software subscriptions that can help you manage all these negotiations or discovery within those platforms. So some of these ideas for you to consider when managing the influencer outreach.
Yeah, and also have to say, like, even if you're working with PR agencies, it's always to do your own due diligence to look into the influencer who you're trying to reach out to, right? The more likely, it's like, for example, the more aligned your product fits with the influence audience group, the more likely they're gonna work with you. So, and also the better results you will be getting. So I would say, like Amy was mentioning about, like, for example, just like sending cold emails to KOLs, that actually works, and it actually works pretty frequently. But also, like, you have to kind of figure out a lot of things, like, how you're gonna get your contract like finalized, what kind of like, for example, like if it's gonna be only one review or if it's gonna be multiple ones, and where they're gonna be, doing all those reviews. I think it's basically goes back to the research. As I do research and then find out the influencer's contact, and then see if you wanna, send a cold email to him, or maybe you happen to know someone who is in that circle, then you can use your personal connections to connect with the influencer, because it's, better to make an introduction when you already kind of belongs in that circle too. And then lastly, PR agency. I would say, like, PR agency is helpful, but still, like, you have to do all the work to make sure that it is gonna work.
Awesome.
Yeah, sorry, just to add one more thing very quick. When you do the cold email outreach, keep in mind that, the influencer might already been receiving a lot of inquiries if they are a popular one and an effective influencer proven by the previous campaign. So as we mentioned, remember, these are also human beings. When you introduce yourself, make sure that you also show you have a great insight into his or her content, or the audience that this influencer has. These will make you stand out more by making it a more warm introduction rather than just a template message.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, it's always great to kind of curate your outreach towards people. So That way they know it's not just a computer that's sending it to them, it's like actual person behind the email, and it's really well thought out. Sorry, did I cut you off, Amy?
No, I was actually gonna add, it's like, don't get discouraged if you don't hear back, because it's like numbers game, right? The more you reach out to, the more likely you will be getting a response.
Yep, that's all great. Also, in terms of like how to find and reach out to them, I think it's great to kind of just take a step back and put yourself in the mind of a consumer. So as a consumer, if you have an e-bike or you're looking for an e-bike, I would search for those influencers within that realm. By putting yourself in the shoes of the buyer, then you can kind of think about what type of person or what type of, let's say, validation you would like to look for from that type of influencer. So if you see an influencer is really big within, say, the battery or the e-bike sphere, and they're really having a lot of engagements and comments, and people are really forming a community around them, I think that's a good start in terms of looking for the type of endorsement that you're looking for your product. Because at the end of the day, that influencer is also going to be endorsing your product, and you want to make sure that that person is trusted by a large community and has a very active following as well. And then I think Guila asked is, will we share our slides? And in the chat, looks like our panelists got to already. We are streaming this on LinkedIn, and the LinkedIn will be available after this is complete via the Indiegogo LinkedIn, and you can always rewatch this presentation. And then for the last question, does Indiegogo support influencer outreach? And I guess I can kind of take this one. So Indiegogo does not directly support influencer outreach in terms of having a program or a yellow book of people to look towards. But what we do have here at Indiegogo is we do have our own unboxing video program. So our unboxing program starts and supports the following. Essentially is Indiegogo will help you create a video. What you'll get with this video is one of our team members who's going to be shooting a video, and also a location where we're able to shoot the video. You're going to also get graphic overlays and subtitles and a professional post-production of that video. And alongside with that, the video is important, but you also want to make sure you have reach with the video. By working with Indiegogo, we'll be able to help feature that unboxing video via our Indiegogo Facebook or Instagram. And then we'll also be able to get you guys a feature on the Indiegogo YouTube, where people can go and watch the video, and you'll be able to get that validation from our team. And do you guys want to add into that, or that's pretty much kind of everything?
Yeah, I think you covered it all.
Okay, thanks guys. And yeah, so those are all the questions we have. We do have, I think we went over a little bit, but if you guys have any final questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them. But if that is it, then the next section would be trying to figure out what we want to run the next webinar about. So we would like to help get your guys' input on what to run the next webinar about. And we have 3 topics that we have in the runnings. So feel free to vote in the chat on what you would like to see next. If you're on LinkedIn, post a comment of the number of the topics you'd like to see next. And the choices are going to be 1, how to manage content marketing and backer communications. 2, learn from 2021's top campaigns. Or 3, others. Feel free to nominate a topic if it's not listed above, and we can look into that and try to make the next webinar focused around a topic that you would like to nominate. So to reiterate that, is 1, how to manage content marketing and backer communications. 2, learn from 2021's top campaigns. Or 3, other, feel free to nominate a category. And we'll be taking all the votes into consideration and try to curate the next webinar about that, so we can kind of support what you guys are looking for and make sure we're able to help you in the best way possible. And it looks like we got some votes in. Appreciate you guys voting. And this is going to be wrapping up the end of our webinar for today. Looking forward to seeing you guys next year in the next webinar, since it is December 21st and this is the last webinar of the month. And thank you everybody for joining today. Thank you Amy and Ying for hosting, and appreciate everybody that joined today. And thank you everybody. Thanks Gunnar, thanks Jacqueline. Happy holidays. Enjoy the rest of this year with your friends and family.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
We'll be sharing
Happy
several
holidays.
innovations that create a positive. The GoSun Chillest Cooler. The GoSun Chillest Cooler makes your old-fashioned ice chest cooler a relic from the past. Using solar power and its built-in battery and compressor, you will be able to keep food and drinks at a frigid temp between 4 and 68 degrees. What if you can harness plants to help clean the air in your home? The Briv Air Filter. After a year's second